So this is, for example, that's 2 to the 4th because it says right here it's 2 to the n, and my n value is 4. Okay? I will point to you when I want you to answer. 2 to the 3rd power is?
8.
2 to the 2nd power is?
4.
I'll do this. And 2 to the 1st power is?
2.
Okay. Next table. So we're still have a base of 2. So we're kind of starting where we left off. So we already know that 2 to the 2nd is 4. 2 to the 1st is 2. Okay, you actually don't even need, be with me. You actually don't even need to type this in your calculator. You can just follow the pattern, because if you notice, this is an exponential function. We are dividing by 2 or multiplying by 1/2. So just keep following the pattern. If you keep following this pattern, what would go with 0?
1.
And then you divide by half, or divide by 2 again, you get?
1/2.
And you divide by 2 again, you get? 1/4. Or you could think about if I'm multiplying by 1/2, that's the same thing. So multiply straight across, you get 1/4. Okay, let's look at this right now. You may have noticed something interesting. All of a sudden, when we got to negative exponents, we got fractions. When we had the 0 exponent, we had a 1. Let's do the right-hand side. Let's see if we get the same type of result. Okay, so first ones, again, now we're doing the base of 3, and I'll ask for the answer. I'll point to you. So 3 to the 3rd power is? Thank you. 3 to the 2nd is?
9.
3 to the 1st power is?
3.
Okay. So let's fill in what we know. We know 3 to the 2nd is 9. 3 to the 1st is 7th graders stop. Okay. 3, if we just think about the pattern that we have here, it's an exponential function. Again, we're multiplying by 1/3. And then if I do 1 times 1/3, what do I get? If I do 1/3 times 1/3,
1/9.
0 exponents, anytime you take something to the 0, the entire answer is 1. And then if you have a negative exponent, what it does is it flips it to the other side. And so I'm going to do an example of that really quick. X to the negative 3. How I like to remember this, I'll tell you a little story. So exponent's being salty. I'm going to make it into a fraction. If there's not a fraction, I'm talking, so you're not. I'm going to send this entire thing to the opposite side of the house, to the denominator, to the whatever the opposite side of the fraction is. If it's in the denominator and it's being salty, you send it upstairs. So this would become x to the positive 3, because after you go to your room, you have some time to think things over, and life ain't so bad. And you become positive. And then on the top, there's nothing left. If that's the case, you have to put a 1. A lot of times in the problems we're doing, you will have things left in the numerator or denominator, and so you don't put anything else there. So main thing I need you to think about is, whenever you're ready, if you have a base with a negative exponent, you need to send that base and its exponent to the opposite side of the house. That way it gets positive and is not so negative. Julie, next question. A is 2 to the negative 3rd. 2 to the negative 3rd. It's being salty. It's negative. It can't stay where it's at because it has a bad attitude. And so you got to send it to its room on the opposite side of the house. The problem right now is there isn't an opposite side of the house, so you need to make it into a fraction. Nick, could you move that, please? And then you're going to send this entire thing, the base and the exponent, the base and the power, to the opposite side. So now 2 to the negative 3rd is now positive, so it's 2 to the positive 3rd on the bottom. There's nothing left on the top, and so you need to replace it with a 1. Because 2 to the third is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. Next one. Guys, what's anything to the 0 power?
1.
It's not negative 10 to the first. It's not 1 to the 0. It's just this entire thing is 1. Because we saw on the front, in order for it to fit the pattern, the thing raised to 0 had to be 1 if it had to fit the pattern. It's kind of weird, but it's true. Next one. We have 1 raised to the negative third and 4 raised to the negative third. There's a division sign between them. And so this is power to a power with a negative, so do the same thing you did before. I'm going to give 1 and 4 a power of 1, and I'm going to multiply that negative 3 to both. So it's 1 to the what, guys? Negative 3. And 4 to the negative 3. Now, they're both being negative right now. So just like you and your sibling, you can't stay where you're at if you're being salty. So you need to go to the other side of the house. Does 1 to the negative third have to move? Yeah. It's negative. We don't like that. Does 4 to the negative third have to move? Yeah, so what they're going to do is switch places. This happens because they're both negative. Okay. This is not going to happen every single time you have something on the top and the bottom, just if they're both negative. So this is going to end up being 4 to the positive 3 on the top, 1 to the positive 3 on the bottom. If I ask you to evaluate, 4 times 4 is 16 times 4 is 64. Is 0 being negative? Well, its power is, so yes, it is. The base isn't negative. The base doesn't matter. The base gets to be negative. It's the power that matters. Because you can have a negative base and it could stay. Like, if you're constantly just kind of like a pessimistic person, then we're not going to ask you to move if that's just kind of how you are, right? So if the base is negative, it gets to stay. But if the power is like, hey, this weird moment in time, you're being like really, you need to take a chill pill, then we're going to ask you to move. So 0 is fine. Negative 7, that's not cool. So what do I have to do with this 0 to the negative 7? And you say, send it to its room. Okay? What do I do when I have a negative power? To its room. Send it to the other side. And now on the bottom you have 0. Is it negative anymore? No. Yay, we took a chill pill. We're fine now. And then on the top there's nothing left. Okay, now there's a problem here. So that would be 0 times itself 7 times. So just 1 over 0. What do we say? There's a math word. What do we say when we have a 0 on the bottom, guys?
Error.
Undefined. Undefined. This is going back to slope.
Error. Divide by 0.
Undefined. That's what slope just said, remember? Look at, pretend these are parentheses, right? Top parentheses. Do you see anything inside of the parentheses that can be simplified right now? No, we're not going to deal with the negative yet. So there's no duplicates. A and B are different. Look at the bottom. You have 3, A, and C. Is there anything that can be simplified on the bottom? No. So we're going to get to look for power to a power. Is there power to a power? No. And so what we're going to do next is deal with these normal numbers. So it's equal to, what is 3 divided by 3? 1. And so you could write down 1, but do you really need to write down 1? No. So what I would do is I just like cross these off. Because 1 over 1 is just 1, and you don't need to write that down because it doesn't change what's happening. But that negative does need to stay. And so let's go ahead and add the negative in. Out front. Okay, let's look at the A's. there's a couple ways you can think about this. You can move the a to the negative fourth. You can send it to its room on the opposite side of the house. Or you can try subtracting your exponents. Like I could do negative 4 minus 3 because we have same base and division. I'm going to go ahead and move the a to the negative fourth on this one. So I'm going to make a note to myself. I'm taking this and I'm moving it down. So let's go ahead and rewrite it with that. And then we'll deal with the rest. So a to the negative fourth is no longer on the top. B to the second is. But on the bottom, you have now a to the positive 4, a to the third, and c to the fourth. What do I do when I have the same base and multiplication? So you're going to add these two exponents up. So the final answer would be negative b squared over a to the seventh, c to the fourth. Would you please try the next one on your own? Okay, this one is just kind of complicated. So we're going to teach you some strategies here. If you're still working on it, that's okay. There's no parentheses. There's no power to a power, so we're going to get to dealing with those normal numbers. So we are looking at, we're looking at negative 4 and negative 3. Those do not divide evenly, and so what you have to ask yourself is, can that fraction be simplified? Negative 4 over negative 3.
4/3.
Could someone raise your hand and explain to me how can we simplify it? Catherine, thank you. So what happened to the negatives? Right, negative divided by negative is a positive, and so you should just make it positive 4/3. But other than that, that's as simple as that fraction can get. Okay, let's look at the A's. So what you can do, I'm going to teach you a different way to do this one. So looking at the A's now, a to the third over a to the negative second. What you can do is subtract. You can do 3 minus negative 2. What would you get? A to the positive 5 if you do that, because if you subtract a negative, you're really adding. So that would be one way to do it. You could subtract, or you could move the a to the top if you prefer that. That's what I'm going to do, just because I'm showing more work and I don't want to make mistakes. So if I move a to the top, put this one up to the top because I'm moving it to the other side, and then I have to move this b to the negative 4 down. So let's rewrite it. A to the third is still on the top. Adelaide, what other a is up there now? A to the positive 2, yep. Okay, look at the bottom now. So we moved b to the negative 4th down. So we still have b to the second. Stevie, what else is down there? Stevie? B to the 4th, and what else? C to the third. Okay, now we're going to add our exponents. Same base and multiplication we add. So your final answer should be 4a to the 5th over 3b to the 6th, c to the third.